Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're at, ladies and gents. I am Kura Isagami, your resident tinkerer and Medarot, and this is the Medarot News Network, bringing you all the latest developments and happenings with our favorite pet fighting robot series. Now, it looks like as we're cresting the final couple weeks of the Medarot Reloaded tie-in, we are most certainly not slowing down or losing steam even for just a second, as we close one event and go right into another, as starting this week, we actually start beginning to hype up for the game's 4-year anniversary that's coming up towards the later end of January going into early February. Now, when it comes to gacha games in general, making it past 3 years is honestly kind of a milestone. Now, after about year 2 or so, they kind of start getting stale after a while. Most players are kind of like late game, all the new players are kind of, like, pushed out because they're inexperienced or don't have everything that the first years have, which is normal for gacha games. Medarot has most certainly stayed far above that exception, and with being able to keep new content going in with the implementation of old bots from other games, from fan contests, even to reaching out to fans, and even having collaborations with fantastic IPs from other franchises through the years. Medarot has certainly not stopped surprising us, and at every turn through these last 4 years alone. Even this week alone, we have a lot of really big pieces of news that were announced, not just to hype up the 4th anniversary itself, but also going forward with the game as a whole, with a lot of quality of life updates that a lot of people have been asking for or begging for a while, that I think really will help tie the game and rebalance some of the more broken aspects of the game and kind of help round things back to a very friendly, roundabout way. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into what was announced for this week going forward. Starting, of course, with the gacha banners. And the first new model, as you see here, is a new Maid type designed by Fujioka Kenki, going by MID-03 Clear Maid, with the kit of Power Missile, Power Napalm, Hyper Missile, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Bomber. Now, of course, you might be thinking this is 2 new skills and 1 new leg ability. Well, you're not entirely wrong. This actually is the first instance of Bomber on a non-collab Medarot, as originally we had it on one of the Cyber Kitty Koro-chan collaboration models, specializing in Gunpowder-based models. I believe it was Neko Danger, I believe, that had that first debuted that ability. But with the case of Power Missile and Power Napalm, it's pretty much the same as what you'd expect it to be. As long as the legs are intact, you're dealing a little extra damage at times 1.5 apiece. And of course, Hyper Missile there for your pierce damage. Nothing new, nothing special, and something we've always seen to date thus far. However, we are most certainly not stopping that train in terms of the theme, as we're going into another very well-known Maid type, as you see here. And this is a Spotlight banner on a model that's currently available in the permanent banner at any time, and that is MID-0 Brightness, with Trap Clear, Double Stat Cleanse, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Trap Buster. Now, for those that are out of the loop, Brightness is a rather unassuming model that may not seem like much at first glance, but once you start getting into making sure that you start having team coverage for, say, Stat Cleanse and Stat Nullification, she most certainly makes herself a very viable ally for anyone on the field that is in need of using her. And if the enemy is using traps, especially now that traps just recently got buffed massively for the punish damage they can induce, this is most certainly going to be a very handy Maid to have at any given time. Though, like I mentioned, because she is a Spotlight, I do want to make a mention and say that she is available in any other banner at any given time. So I would not put a lot of effort into going towards Brightness as you try for any other of the big gacha banners going this week. On the topic of the gacha banners, though, Clear Maid is not the only model that we see coming this week with a very powerful kit to behold. The other half of the big gacha banners going live this week is, of course, everybody's favorite Gothic Lolita Sweetie, DVL-04 Gothic Mate, with the kits of Big Bang, Double Railgun, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Pure Heart. Now, as you all know, Gothic Mate, another child of Fujioka Kenki, is also well known for meta-changing into a powerful devil-like form, and in this form, she changes her kit entirely for Inferno, Double Ghost, Biped Legs, but Mate changes her leg ability to Auto Charge. So she's basically the best of both worlds when it comes to high power, both up close and impersonal, and from afar taking pot shots. And then, of course, last but not least, we also have KWG's 15 Omega Stag with Scrape, Double Punishment, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Breakneck. Now, Omega Stag in particular has been helping showcase a relatively new skill in the game that has started coming around. That is the ability of punishment with the random ailment infliction and the heat punish or cool punish damage multipliers. But Scrape also is a skill we have not seen too terribly often. But to explain it briefly as a refresher, it basically adds effect clear to the ally's next attack. Which means if they're already using stat cleanse, well, guess what? They are no longer anymore, and she is free to inflict them with as many ailments as she can deem fit before she gets taken down, assuming she gets taken down at all. Now, because we have a lot of very powerful female bots this week, I did decide to kind of put together a little bit of a priority order for the gacha banners in terms of what I personally felt anyway would be the big priority in order of that. I would have to stick Gothic Maid at #1, just primarily for just how fantastic she can be used in any situation from close range to long. Behind her, I would have to give Clear Maid the next big step. Not the fact that she's less than or not as good as Gothic Maid, but being purely Gunpowder based does kind of hold her back just a little bit, despite the fact that her kit is actually incredibly well synergized for what she does bring to the table on that. Third in place would of course be Omega Stag with your Plague Master with the ability to inflict up to 5 random ailments at a time, and of course the free effect clear on that whenever applied. And then of course, last but not least, at Brightness. Again, not to say that she's terrible, but because she is a spotlight model, it does mean that there really is no reason to pull for her at a boosted rate when you have a shot for her pretty much any time in any other banner. Now, with the Fierce Battles we have this week, we do have something kind of changing the rules just a little bit. We have not 3, not 4, but 5 Fierce Battles going live this week to start hyping up for the 4th anniversary of Medarot S. And those 5 Fierce Battles, in order here, are JOK0 Shootboard with Heater, Beam, Power Rifle, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Aim. OWS0 Papio Chevalier with Fight Boost, Discharge, Counter Guard, Float Legs, and the leg ability of Mascot. And then last but not least, for that top row, MDR0 Dondrill with Virus, Double Hammer, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Rumbling. Now what you might notice here is these are the very first 3 Ori metas that were made official models when Medarot S first launched close to 4 years ago. So it's nice that they're coming back full circle and putting all 3 of these together once again for another chance in the limelight, despite all the new models and Fierce Battles that we've had coming and going through the previous weeks. In addition to these 2, we do also have other popular favorites, such as RIN0 Rhino Rush with Guard 500, Double Missile, Tank Legs, and the leg ability of Super Armor, and then KAP01 Kappa Lord with Beam, Double Anti-C, Sea Legs, and the leg ability of Forester. We do have a very solid lineup here for Fierce Battles that can be farmed at pretty much any given time. So if you are a brand new player to the game, or just a rookie fresh out of the tutorial gate, you came at a really good time to make sure that you can capitalize on all these free bots that you can farm for. If you are still relatively new or just starting out, it never really hurts to collect all 5 of them just for the sake of having the parts on hand. But in terms of one that steps out above the rest, do swear this is not my personal bias towards the Steam Locomotive aesthetic, I do have to give the MVP of the week to Shootboard, primarily because despite the fact we've had lots of very powerful attacks come and go, lots of meta shifting, lots of viability and competitive changing ever so massively with skills getting buffed or nerfed or changed around, Power Rifle from Shootboard has always been man's best friend when it comes to a very powerful free shooting part that you can earn basically just by farming him when his Fierce Battle gate comes back around. That's not to say that Papio Chevalier, Donjil, Rhino Rush, or Kappa Lord are any less than or worse, but I would have to give Shootboard the big metal hero's MVP of the week, exclusively for that Power Rifle and just for the sake of giving new Medarotters that powerful shooting part to have on hand as something that can help carry them through a lot of early game content as they start working on collecting their libraries and raising other parts. Now, in terms of other stuff we have this week lining up toward the anniversary, much like we have in previous anniversaries, 3.5, 3, 2.5, 2, and so on, we do have the inclusion of new anniversary super rare rank Medarotters, this time highlighting Ikki and Erika from Medarot 2. The skills that they offer this time, in addition to highlights of the previous anniversary Medarotters, as you see here with Hikaru, Kirara, Arase, and Hisaki, Ikki in particular will buff all stats by 100%, basically doubling all their stats for one turn, at the cost that after that one turn they revert, debuff 10%, and you maintain that debuff as an overload recharge for about 10 turns. This is very similarly to Anniversary Ranuncula from a year or so ago, as well as EVA and Nozomi from the EVA collab that do the same thing. Ikki's might probably have the lowest value for the stat boost that it grants, but also the longest debuff penalty to trade for it, because that 10% isn't really going to be super noticeable in my personal opinion, and it's something that you really don't have to pay attention to all that much, aside from just maybe noting that they will be just a hair slower than they will be for a good chunk of the battle. But if you do a battle right, it probably will be well passed over by the time that 10-turn limit does come and go. Arika, on the other hand, much like Halloween Retort, which was another fantastic Medarot from previous year's events, will reduce all meta change charge requirements to 0 for 3 turns. That means if you're trying to make use of someone such as, say, I don't know, Kreutz Bison's Giga Gatling or Gan King's Perfect Guard, from turn 2 onwards, once you activate that skill, guess what? It's free for you to use at any given time, as long as you can get a charge going before that 3 turns expires. Now, these two are honestly two really good Medarotters in my personal opinion, so if none of the Medarots themselves do particularly appeal to you, or Maids really aren't your thing, that's 100% fine, don't sweat it, but I would definitely recommend going after at least one of these Anniversary Medarotters just for having them on hand, because the skills they offer may not be, say, as powerful or as potent, but still very useful to have on hand to make sure they can help you turn the tides of battle when you do count on it the most. Now, in terms of the anniversary event itself, it will, of course, be a 2-week anniversary event, and to hype us up with that, to showcase the rewards we can earn, they did throw us for a lot of really big loops this time. The first half of the anniversary event in particular allows us to earn anniversary voice lines for Arase and Hisaki to celebrate 4 years of Medarot S. We also have a rerun of the Dragon Medal, which is another previous event reward medal from 2023 and older, with a mastery in melee shooting and defense, and a leg mastery in biped, tank, and flight. You can also earn lots of rubies, diamonds, and other precious resources that are usually very hard to come by, but the biggest thing they teased on, and I'm going to touch on this briefly as we go on, is a brand new Ascension material called an NFRP S chip. This, just to touch on briefly, will allow us to surpass and exceed the limit of a currently capped level 90 part to even higher stats and even better permanent bonuses once you do unlock that. But I will get to that in just a moment. This is going to be a very exciting event in particular, primarily for the fact that because it is ticket-based, it does encourage mixed parts across your team. That means, of course, when it comes to bonuses, it will be red tickets this time around. Very easy to farm for, very easy to build for. As you see there, Clear Maid will give you a +4 per part. Gothic Mates, Omega Stag, Brightness, and the 3 Dragons will give you a +2 per part each. And the Fierce Battles, Shupord, Papio Chevalier, and Dandra at +1 each. SR Medarotter hit Ikki at +4 for your tickets, +3 for Hikaru or Arase if you manage to snag either of them, or perhaps a +2 for the regular super rare rank versions of all 3 respectively. Or a +1 for R or N rank depending on which one if you're still new or have not had the chance to collect them yet. Now, I do like to say that this will probably be a relatively easy event to farm for too, primarily for the fact that with the case of the Medarotters, or at least the basic super rare and the rare and N versions anyway, they are available in the Medarot banner Medarotter banner at any given time, so they are relatively easy to pick up pretty quickly. And same can be said for most of the pickup bots too, even though they are going to be pretty heavy on gacha banners this time around. If you've been playing for longer than, say, I don't know, a year, you may or may not have come across at least one of these already, or already have a pretty solid ruby stash to keep you going so you can go towards one of these new powerful ones. Now, in terms of other really big stuff that they did touch on, we have new mechanics that are incoming that are going to massively change how the game operates and how game balance is going to be behaving and change and ever shifting as the game evolves and grows. The first of which that I did touch on briefly is a new chip that can ascend a 5-star level 90 part to a new, even more powerful 6-star rarity part with a new level cap of level 100. Now, there is no telling just how high that stat cap is going to go. There has been screen caps of what exactly Crosshead part looks like at level 100, but it's not really easy to say if that's going to be a new determiner or if it's going to be, say, just an example and they're going to finish fine-tuning it. There's no saying if it's going to be a percentage base or a fixed number, but it is going to make things very interesting for the fact that powerful parts will get more powerful, and even some of the older or slower parts that have been kind of falling behind the wayside, if these bonuses do end up rolling in their favor, will allow them to change massively to come back into the limelight for another second wind to be able to make the limelight once again. In addition to this, I do like to believe that these new NFRPS chips will also be allowed to be earned through events and future collaborations or challenges going forward. But the other really big thing to note about this new Ascension bonus is the fact that when a part is ascended and capped, you now can add a third power-up chip to it. Stuck at 2 HP chips and want to add a power? Well, guess what? Now you can. Or you can add 1500 HP to that full charge part to make sure that you don't go down without too easily from that AoE hammer. Now you can make sure you cover your bases even better than before with that third extra slot to give you some extra flexibility when supplementing your passive stats. Now, as if this wasn't enough, we have yet another new mechanic coming in, and that is a new Robattle Research mechanic. Now, very similar to how, say, Genshin or Honkai Star Rail may have the assignments or the expeditions where you can send characters off for a set amount of time, Robattle Research is basically going to be the same thing here. You can send up to 3 Medarots at a time, 4 if you are a Robattle Pass holder, based on relative to the terrain as mentioned, as you see here in this example. In addition, you can also send them on missions of varying time, ranging from an hour, 4 hours, or 12 hours. Which means while you're doing your dailies, well, you can go ahead and set them on their missions, turn off your game, and basically you're done, log in before you go to bed, and reset them before you go to sleep, and that's it. But the really big kick that they wanted to highlight on this is completed missions allow you to earn new research points or tokens upon completion of these research deployments. And it has been said and hinted that these tokens allow you to earn very hard to find or very hard to earn rewards that normally they were really picky and wanted to give away before. These include Cyclasium, Metagist, which is what's used for overclocking metals, the new NFRPS chips, and Producer-san even made a passing mention that there could even possibly be some limited pickup Medarots that were normally only available in the gacha to be redeemed through this special new mechanic. Now, there has been no saying on how exactly the Medarots or pickup is going to work. Is it going to be a rotating cycle? Are there going to be a handful permanently available? It has not been elaborated on, so we probably won't know until the update does go live. But that is going to be very soon, actually, because the new Robattle Research and the Ascension bonus will be going live this Thursday on January 18th. So we don't have a lot of time to really wait, which is going to be very exciting to figure out how these new mechanics are going to really change the game going forward once they are officially established. One other really big thing to note as well is, as another big quality of life change, they are taking the premium and the bundles and the ruby bundles out of the convenience store, making it basically a fully free store that you can use only with the Metacoin currency that's in the game that you can earn pretty much at any given time. Now, where is all that bonus going, however? I'm glad you asked. It is going to be migrated to a completely separate site independent of the game where players can top up their rubies and buy bundles there instead of having to do it in the game. Thereby basically bypassing the iOS or Google Play stores entirely so people can top up without having to do it in the game. Now, if this behaves like I think it will, and I'm crossing my fingers and hoping it will, this is going to be a huge, and I mean a huge milestone and achievement for us international players that have been playing for a very long time, between 1 to 4 years, or even not even longer than that, that have been playing longer than a while, or even want to top up with rubies or buy limited bundles. If this works like I hope it will, this will be our chance to do so. But don't hold me to that, because there has been no details on how exactly that website will behave, because they did say it's not up yet at time of recording. But again, that update should be going live soon so we can experiment and see just how well that behaves. And if it is, big step for us. If not, well, it's a step in the right direction at the very least to keep in mind. Now, the last really big piece of news that they announced for the quality of life changes is that we got a bunch of parts that are getting massive changes to the game, either in the span of buffs or in nerfs. But the biggest notable ones they highlighted, ladies and gentlemen, listen to me once and very carefully. Cross Shock, Scattered AoE, Guaranteed Hit, Guaranteed Crit is getting nerfed. You heard me correctly, it is getting nerfed. It now, upon use, will slap a no dodge and a no defend penalty on cooldown. That means there will not be nearly as many teams trying to spam double or even triple cross shock, as now they have to face the penalty for it of being slapped in the behind if they are not careful on covering their rears when they do choose to use this deadly attack. In addition to this, Disturbance also is getting nerfed. Instead of having 5 charges per use, it now will be slapping only 3 upon activation, thereby making it a lot easier to try countering this instead of having to wait for it to expire or basically just resign to your defeat because you're trying to get your shielder or healer on the team to do their job, and well, Disturbance is there to make sure that you can't do that. Disturbance getting nerfed does also mean that this makes it just a little bit easier to counteract this, like I said, but Cross-Shock getting nerfed like this is a huge step in the right direction, I like to believe, because it is an exceptionally powerful, and a lot of people have actually complained that it is a very broken and overpowered part for what it brings to the table. That's no longer a case anymore. I'm honestly very happy with that. Lastly, a lot of setup type skills, plants in particular, specifically Heater Plant, Cooler Plant, Charge Plant, and Repair Plant, basically that gives passive while they're on the field, will be getting a times 1.5 efficiency bonus while they are active. Now, this is actually really big too, primarily for the reason that you really don't see people using a lot of plants often, with the exception of First Aid, but that behaves under its own premise and behaviors. That one doesn't really count. But Heater Plant, Cooler Plant, Charge, Repair, the only time you'll really see those is if somebody's running, say, I don't know, Unitress, who has Heater Plant and Cooler Plant between both forms, or even, say, Wonderbell, who has Repair Plant, or so on. You don't see them often, but thanks to this efficiency buff, it will give them the chance to kind of step back in the light as new power-up passives and kind of help make themselves viable again, because no one really uses setup all this often except for occasional trap, disturbance, or even first aid, like I said. But between first aid and disturbance, those are basically the only setup skills you'll really use. So I'm really glad that they are going back and kind of rebalancing a lot of these older skills to make sure that they can stay viable and competitively relevant. But continuing on to community-based stuff, we are always looking for translators to assist us with any translation endeavors or passion projects. Right now, the current push is towards wrapping up the tentative completion of Medarot 3, which is still mostly going through grammar checks and making sure that everything's behaving as it should. We do still need a lot of playtesters for that, so a lot of the hard work at this point is basically done. All you have to do is reach out to Variant and Wyzit, my two buddies who've been heading this that translation project. They'll get you in touch or find a way to help you download the patch, play the game, and off you go. Just make sure you touch base on what you notice if there is anything to take note of. We would love to work on other projects such as Medarots 4 and 5 and Navi, or even the newer titles like 7, 8, or 9, but we do need the manpower to be able to do it. So if you are knowledgeable in coding or cleaning or Japanese, or know somebody who might be able to lend a hand, definitely come our way or send your friend our way. Join our community Discord in the link provided below, and we can get them in touch with the right people to fill them in on what has been done and what still needs done up to this point. Now, if you find yourself a particular introvert who does not know a lot of friends like that, or if you just want to participate and just don't have the skill set, that's 100% fine too. In the comments below as well, I will be including a link to Variant's crowdfunding, which he can use to help commission a lot of pieces of text that need translated but just don't have anyone to do them at the current time. This will also help massively boost the process and take a lot of the load off of them, so that they can focus on the more pressing bugs and glitches and make sure that the patch is working properly and not, breaking the game whenever players are using it at certain points in time. With the weekly art highlights here on the MNN, I only chose to do one piece this year, or at least with this week, primarily because it's from Mr. Tagro, and he does a lot of wonderful art, as you all are well aware. This one here, I actually had the opportunity to participate in when Mr. Tagro was taking requests for little chibi doodles to do, as you see here, and he did this really neat little New Year's 2024 banner on these little chibi Medarots of his own little doodle and design, which I absolutely fell in love with these small little babies at day one in the first sight. What I really need now, and if you've been following me on Twitter and on the Discord, I have been saying this, and I will continue to say it until I see it, I need to see a paper Medarot in this same art style. I just absolutely need it. Come on, you guys see where I'm going with this, right? It's right there. It'd be super easy to implement. It's just something that just has to happen with this art style. I just need to see it, even if it's just a trailer. But do give Mr. Tagro a follow as well to support him as a wonderful Medarot artist in the community who has also been working with Medarot for a very, very long time, just to show your love and support for what he does and the effort that he brings to our favorite fighting robots. Lastly, just to touch on this again, and I will continue to touch on it for the foreseeable future, I am always open for commission, both for 2D and for 3D. So if you are perhaps a content creator, a VTuber, or looking for some art or a model to be done, more than welcome to reach out to me on Discord or on Twitter, and we can most certainly try to make something happen. I do live 2D rigging, live 2D art, the models are ready to rig, so I just have not learned that yet. I do 3D models, fully rigged, built, textured, and optimized, ready to go. Props, VR chat optimization, you name it, I can do it. Just not animations, preferably. I can do standard art of varying levels of difficulty, complexity, and shading. I can do emotes, as you see here, as samples. And I'm more than happy to do bundles as well. And I try to keep my prices low on purpose, just to kind of be on the affordable end, so that up-and-coming or new content creators that want to get started on the right foot don't have to break the wallet to get some quality stuff to help get them started right and keep them going for the time to come. With that being said, I do believe that covers everything for this week's episode. So, not a lot of stuff geared towards the 4th anniversary in particular, with the exception of Clear Maid and the Meta Wheel of Fortune event that's ongoing. But a lot of big quality of life things that we have been asking for or been thinking about and dreaming about for a while. And I'm really excited to see how those are going to change how the game behaves and how it balances itself once they are implemented and the waves do stop rocking the ship. But with that being said, if you'd like to know more, you can follow us below on Facebook at the Medarot News Network page, or the Metabots Forever community on there that I do also run and manage there. You can also join us on Discord in the link provided and in the comments below if you want to keep an even closer ear to the ground on the action. This includes any new links to merchandise, fan art, contests, my weekly episodes, or anything to do with our favorite fighting robots in general. That's the first place you're going to hear the news before it goes anywhere else on the net at all. You can also reach out to me personally on Twitter at IsagamiKura if you have any questions or feedback or comments, or even would love to commission me for a piece of art or something. My DMs are open for that very reason and will probably be staying open permanently for the foreseeable future, probably because I'm not enough of somebody to actually have those constant DMs. I don't know, I don't really care at this point. But if you are also a content creator, a streamer, or a VTuber, or a YouTuber, any kind of variety, and would love to stop in or collaborate with me sometime, whether that means having you here on the MNN with me as a guest host, of which there is always an open seat available at any time if you guys would like to stop in, or if you'd like to have me stop in on your channel as a guest for a game or a friendly chat, I would absolutely love to coordinate with that too. So definitely reach out to me in those DMs and we can most certainly try to coordinate schedules and make something happen. Lastly, do give these wonderful friends of mine a follow in the community as well as wonderful artists in the Medarot community, Tricker XG250 and Flitlock GP, both wonderful artists. I honestly love every piece of art they do. Flitlock in particular has been doing a lot of really cute pieces with the Medarots and very cute outfit and human outfits, and I just fell in love with that day one. Tricker with a lot of very creative Ori meta designs as well. But definitely give both of them a follow to support them and what they do in the Medarot community as well. But with that being said, as always, I do appreciate you all for stopping by, just as you always do. And until next time, this is your host, Kura Isagami of the Medarot News Network, signing out.